One of the real strengths of RBC is the diversity of our membership. We have folks who do all their business locally. We have folks who are major forces around the world. And it gives us the opportunity to tap on their knowledge and experience and perspectives on a number of different subjects, including the economy. So one of the things we asked our members to comment on is, how did the economy affect you in your industry? What does the current economic climate feel like, which is an issue of importance to a lot of us right now in business? What do they think recovery will look like for, again, their company, their industry in different regions of the world? Because that'll give us all a perspective of what we have to look forward to.
I'd characterize the economy today as muted. We're in a period of stubbornly high unemployment. I saw a statistic the other day that practically 1 in every 5 Americans is out of work, which is a significant issue from an economic point of view.
I think the Midwest is creeping, and without maybe some of the real disasters that we've seen in other parts of the country, but certainly there's no job recovery in this area, which you really can't have a recovery until you get people back to work.
It appears to me that nationally as well as internationally, there's still a climate of caution. People are afraid to invest. However, we are finding, particularly in my industry on a national, international basis, is that in the hotel space, the hospitality space, people are going back to restaurants. They're going to entertainment venues. They are staying in hotels. Now that has occurred for the last 90 days. The question is what will happen for the next 90 days.
I think we're like everybody else at Bush O'Donnell. We've spent a lot more time on the balance sheet, a lot more time looking at liquidity in the companies that we invest in. That's not unlike anybody else.
What we've seen in our industry is the economy trended down. We saw less profitability. We saw some lot lower capacity utilization, some plant closures, and certainly some higher unemployment levels and or cost actions such as salary freezes, those kinds of things started to occur from our industry. The results of that have been a pullback in capital spending and a look to export some products out of the United States.
We hire so many people, subcontractors. Subcontractors hire and buy from material suppliers. If our business is off as much as it is, then it would lead to great unemployment amongst subcontractors and lack of production amongst material suppliers.
What we've seen is delayed and lengthened sales cycles, really needing to justify and build the business case around technology prior to a business making a decision in ways that's much more rigorous than it has been in prior years.
I think it is a fact that a lot of companies, many companies, are hoarding cash right now. The last number I saw was about $1.8 trillion worth of cash on the balance sheets of non-financial companies. And I think the reason is they have not seen indications of a sustainable recovery, and until they do, they are going to continue to be cautious. Business owners and CEOs will continue to be cautious. From a bank's perspective, obviously the banks would love to see businesses get back into the business of making capital investments and hiring. I don't know that banks can encourage companies to do that. The economy obviously has to accelerate in order for businesses to want to borrow money.
We slowed the pace of investing money over the course of the last 18 months to 2 years as we were affected by concerns about the uncertainty in the economy as anybody else. More recently, in the last 6 months, we've seen more opportunities to lend money to small businesses that have growth plans you can believe in.
Our industry is the construction industry. Ours in particular is commercial contracting. Non-residential is another way to refer to it. Our numbers, and most of us, peaked in 2008. That was every contractor's best year, and that's probably nationally as well. Since 2008 and through our projections on 2010, our business will be down roughly 44%.
My company's industry is information technology, and we're a service provider in that space. We service both small and very large businesses. I would say that we're one of the bright spots in the economic horizon, that we've been hit much less harder than a lot of other industries. However, we haven't been immune.
Our business has been severely impacted by the downturn. We kind of thought that we were going to be able to sidestep the economy. We really lag the economy because we have long-term projects that build a backlog, and a lot of optimistic people were thinking that by sometime in 2010 that we would see a recovery and things would start coming back. And so we escaped 2009 because of work we had booked. We really got no bookings to speak of in 2009, so we entered 2010 with a very limited backlog, and now we have hyper competition in the things we do.
I'd characterize going forward the effects to be a game changer for the industry, and I think the reason for that is we're going to have significantly enhanced regulation and higher costs. I think higher capital standards will have some implication on the industry, particularly for small banks. I think consolidation is going to be a major factor in the industry for the next 2 or 3 years, and I think the level of competition is going to increase dramatically.
We think that there's two factors that are affecting us. One is a more regulated economy, more regulations, which makes it more difficult for business to operate within. And secondly is the levels of debt. And we believe that those are, depending upon what happens, if our debt increases and if regulation increases, we think that will have a negative effect on the economy.
The increased regulatory work by the government is causing a risk-shifting mentality amongst the end users, and so they're going back to the little guys in the middle, and they can squeeze us because there isn't enough demand right now, and force us to take more risk to be able to take current jobs. And it's going to change the landscape of how things are done.
What we're finding is that the lenders have kind of gone to sleep to a degree. Part of it is because the regulators have said, you know, we want you to be more careful in how you lend money to businesses and to individuals. Well, that is okay. The problem is that it has caused an economic depression with lenders too, because they can't make profit off of loans that they're issuing because they're afraid to issue loans to businesses and stuff. So it's a very vicious circle.
With the banks having contracted as a lender, we get more requests from businesses to meet the gap between what the banks are willing to lend and what the equity providers have given that business. So the mezzanine financing level, which is where we participate, has been very active.
We hope that what will happen is that the businesses will start to spend, because we know that there are a lot of businesses that are sitting on cash because they believe a reserve is very essential in these troubling times.
There's a lot of talk right now about banks not lending. I'd say for banks, other than those that have significant regulatory issues, that's just not the case. There's tremendous liquidity in the system. We're finding right now that there is a lot of competition for good loans, and there's a lot of good money, obviously, that's available to lend, and that's how banks make money.
We find the mezzanine lending is very competitive, and for the right business propositions, senior lenders are very aggressive trying to book loans. It's just the hurdle is higher given concerns about the economy.
We spent the last 20 years building our company from one that did work of $25 or $30 million a year to $500 million. So we went from very few staff to 150 people in offices in 2 different cities. And now we're having to undo all of that. So it's more difficult to grow in reverse.
Most CEOs would have said in the first half of this year that they were seeing a recovering economy, and they were feeling very good in the April-May time period about where their business was headed. I believe that as you got into the end of the second quarter in July, that people were a little bit more cautious as to where they were headed, but they still were feeling better. I think as we look in the October, as we're heading into the October time period, I think that there's a greater amount of uncertainty as to where we are headed. A V-shaped recovery, no. A U-shaped recovery, maybe. A slow sloping line getting back, more likely.